Okay, now don't worry if you can't see this properly. I know the controller might be in the way a bit and you can't see all the details, etc. Well, this is just a close-up to intro this video with. I will actually show you the different ports on the back. I will show you some of the details you really need to know about the controller closer up, things like that. Don't worry about not being able to see it well at the moment. You will get a better look. Now, first off, I'm going to tell you what it is, what it does. Then I'll tell you what's included in the box, what you get included in the packaging. Then I'll show you around the box and controller a little bit to show you what ports it has. And then at the end, I'll give you my opinions on it and what kind of experience I've had with it. And then I'll tell you the price and if I recommend it or not. Okay, so what is it? It's the WeTek Play 2. It is the second model. There has been a previous model. This is a new, upgraded, improved model, the Play 2. It is a 4K Android TV box that's actually modular. Now, in case you don't know what a TV box is, boxes for your TV that are almost like mobile phones in some ways. They have the same operating system, some of them, not all of them. Some of them, quite a lot of them have Android on it, which is what a lot of phones use. Not the iPhone, not the iPad, they use iOS, but a lot of other phones use a system called Android. So it's basically like an Android box, almost like a smartphone box for your TV that will allow you to have some won't work so well, but all of the apps from your phone on your big screen TV, nice and convenient. Now, is that really the main point? Because you can do other ways around this, like streaming them. Well, no. The primary purpose is it's kind of like a Google Play or iTunes box for your TV. So with the Google Play movie store and TV store, you'd have it on your phone and then you could watch a movie on your tablet or whatever. But what if you want to watch it on TV? Well, this is where these really come in. This is where they really shine. Now, I mentioned iTunes. Does this have iTunes? No. iTunes is Apple's own thing. So for the TV, yes, you can get the iTunes program for Mac and Windows, but as far as mobile phones, smartphones, TV boxes are concerned, it's only Apple products that have it. So the Apple TV box is basically an iTunes box, let's face it. And it's not in 4K. This has 4K Ultra HD. This also has something that other Android boxes or the Apple TV box, whatever, doesn't have. It actually has a TV tuner or satellite tuner or cable tuner built in. So in case you don't know what that is, some TVs have most TVs have terrestrial TV built into them. You plug an antenna into your TV and watch it. Or in the UK, for example, where I am, some TVs will have what they now call Freeview, which is basically terrestrial TV, and it will be built into TV, or some TVs don't have that, so you'd get a Freeview box. Well, this has those channels built into this, as long as you have the correct module for it. So you can plug your TV antenna into the back of this box, and I'll show you that in a minute. I'll show you the back. Then what you do, you plug your antenna in, and you can watch it just like if you had an antenna plugged into your TV. Now, if you think, well, I've already got Freeview, I've already got terrestrial TV built into my TV, this isn't going to be a benefit to me. Well, it could be, because you don't have to have this module I have. I have the terrestrial TV module. You can get a version of the box with either satellite TV, where you plug in your satellite dish into it, or cable TV if you want to plug in your cable TV into it. Okay? And it is modular. So you can also get a version of the Play 2 box without any modules, and it's the cheapest version. So if you don't want to use that, you can save money. If you know you don't want to watch TV, you know you don't want to watch terrestrial, cable, or satellite TV using this box, then you can actually save money by getting a basic version of this box, which is exactly the same, but there is no TV tuner built in. Now here is a little disclaimer for people in the UK. For some reason, I'm not really sure how this happened, but for some reason in the UK, cable providers such as Virgin Media don't use the standard cable connector to connect into your box. They actually use a satellite connector. So if you get this tuner, which is meant to work with terrestrial and cable, you may not be able to plug in your cable box, your cable to it, your cable to it. So bear that in mind. Make sure of what type of, if you want to use cable with this box, make sure of what connector that your provider uses. So depending upon what services you're using, like terrestrial TV, cable, satellite, you could get up to thousands possibly of channels, depending upon your area, provider, etc. with this box. And that is especially good if you don't have a TV with built-in cable tuner or built-in terrestrial TV tuner or whatever. This is actually extremely handy, and I love this feature. And especially the thing I love about this feature the most with this is it's actually modular. So say you bought terrestrial TV version and then you realize, well, actually terrestrial TV in my area doesn't get enough. I want to use satellite dish instead. You can just, yes, it'll cost you more, but you can buy the satellite module separately then if you change your mind at some point in the future, like in a year's time, whatever, and put in the satellite one instead. You're not stuck with what this has built in. And a lot of boxes don't have tuners, not just the Apple TV box, but other Android boxes. There are some that do. This isn't the only one on the market, but most don't have tuners of any kind. And this, not only does it have a tuner, it does actually have a modular system where you can replace the tuner if you want. And bear in mind, many of these channels do not need paid for. So for example, if you're here in the UK, the BBC channels, Channel 4, Channel 5, those sort of things are free, just like if you're watching it with a TV. And that shouldn't matter if you're using the satellite tuner or the terrestrial tuner. Either will give you at least some free channels, so no subscription is necessary for the basic ones, just like it would be on a TV if you plugged in your antenna into the TV. It does include a real-time TV guide, so you can check what's on next, or what's on multiple channels. You can say, okay, BBC One now has Doctor Who on, or whatever, and oh, the horror channel has The Birds on, whatever. And you can scroll through what's next, not just what's on now, but it's a proper EPG or TV program guide. You can also, this is a really handy feature, just like if you had a actual proper Freeview recorder or terrestrial TV recorder or something, you can actually pause and rewind live TV, and you can record TV shows you're watching, just like if you're recording to a VHS or a DVD recorder, whatever. You can actually record your TV programs. How do you do that? Well, you put in a micro SD card into the side. There is a micro SD slot on the side, not the back, but on the side, and you can record TV programs and pause and rewind live TV programs if you have a card in. Now also, I should note at this time, it doesn't really seem to recognize USBs correctly. If you plug in a USB stick, you don't seem to get that same functionality. So just bear in mind that might change in the future, but at this stage, I find you need to use micro SDs for that sort of features and functions. It actually has another unique, what I believe is quite a unique feature, which is a web interface. No, it's not just a web interface. If you go plug this into your TV via HDMI and that, you'll get its proper interface using remote control. But if you want to control this remotely when you're out, say at a restaurant or gone out for a couple of day holiday or whatever, you can actually use a web interface to remotely control and monitor each and every aspect of your Play 2 system. It's not something I find the need for, but I think it is such an advanced bonus feature. I think that's a really nice touch. When I first received this box, when I first got this box, it actually used an older version of Android, but actually it does get updated regularly. The system on this software, the operating system, does get updated quite regularly, and it does currently use Android 6.1, which is a fairly new version of Android. Because it's powered by apps, you can install apps like Netflix. YouTube is already installed. If you're in America, Hulu, although we don't have that in this country, Spotify, Plex, Codec, and that is installed already, Codec. And HBO, if you're in America, all those sort of apps that you could install on your phone, you can install on this. Now, that can be handy, even if you have a smart TV, a TV that has apps like Netflix and YouTube on it. The reason I say that is because some apps are not available on all platforms. So, for example, a channel we have in the UK, I'm not sure what country you're watching this from, of course, but a channel we have in the UK is basically Channel 3. It's called ITV, and it has an ITV player, which is an app that allows you to watch shows that are just been shown like earlier in the day or yesterday or whatever, and catch up with shows you may have missed on their channel. And it's free, but it's not on every platform. So it's on Android, it's on iOS on the phone and tablet, but it's not on the Apple TV box, for example. For some reason, they've never added it to the Apple TV box. Well, because this uses Android, you can just go to the Google Play Store and install that. So if your TV or other boxes you may have don't support an app you would like to use on a regular basis, such as the ITV player, you can probably find it on this. For audio, the Play 2 does offer both DTS and even Dolby Digital Plus audio encoding. So if you have a good speaker setup, you can have your DTS digital surround sound or Dolby Digital Plus with your speakers and get the really best audio out of it, instead of some other boxes, especially cheaper ones. A lot of cheap Android boxes won't necessarily have even DTS, let alone Dolby Digital as well. So that is a really, really good, especially if you want to watch something really good quality, like a full 4K movie. You want to try to get the best experience out of not just the visuals, but also the audio as well. And I think that's really good that this is very professional, and it does support both DTS, digital surround, and Dolby Digital Plus audio encoding. How do you connect it to the internet? It does boast both Wi-Fi and Ethernet. So you can either plug it in wired to your router, or a lot of people don't like to do that these days. I know it can be a pain. Your router might be nowhere near the TV, things like that. And I'm getting further and further away from using cables all the time. In fact, I pretty much have everything wireless now. And of course, the concern about that is it going to be fast enough? Well, of course, it will depend upon many factors, including the quality of your router and what your router is capable of achieving. But I have a good router, and I have had no problems with this so far. I stream things absolutely fine. Okay, now what? Well, by the way, that blue light there is good because some boxes don't have any lights on them, or some just have one little white dot. This is actually a pretty good light because it's nice and curved, so it has a stylish look with the rest of the box, and it does turn red when the box is turned off, or it will actually flash when it's on standby. So it does change colour depending upon if it's on or off, and it is curved around the edge there that actually makes it look pretty nice. It definitely does add a little something to the box, which would otherwise be just a plain black box. Now, what about the actual specs? I've told you it's 4K and Android and Dolby Digital and DTS, but what about a bit more in depth? Well, it is quad core. It does use a Amlogic S905H quad core CPU, and for GPU it uses a Melee MP450 Panta core. It has 2 gigabytes of DDR3 RAM, and that is pretty good because a lot of things these days still use 1 gig of RAM. So that is really good. It's 2 gigs of DDR3, and a lot of cheaper products, even if it has more than 1 gig, it sometimes uses DDR2. This uses this faster, more modern type of DDR3. So that is pretty good, 2 gigs. Quite a few are 1 gig. so that is quite good to see. It does have actually some built-in room, so you can get downloading apps straight away, straight out of the box. You can also do a little bit of recording and that, but it is 8 gigs, which isn't huge. So I would recommend not doing any live recording or recording of TV programs or pausing without an SD card in. I would save the internal flash memory, the 8 gigs, for installing apps and updates to, and then put any live TV pausing and recording onto a separate card, a SD card. Now, like I say, it has modular tuners, which you can either have DVB S2, which is for satellite, or DVB C or T or T2, which is for cable and terrestrial. Although, like I say, here in the UK, that may not work for cable because your provider may use a different type of connector, so bear that in mind. But basically, you have the DVB T/T2 for terrestrial, or the S2 for satellite. And if you're in North America or South Korea, there is a ATSC version available as well. Now, even though I said that the wireless has been perfectly fine for me, please bear in mind though that if you have a good, more modern router that is 802.11 AC, the newer, faster type, this is not AC. It is compatible both B, G, and N, so it's 802.11N. Which isn't really great when you're talking about 4K, possible 4K streaming or downloading, things like that. I would have liked to see an AC. However, a lot of 802.11n products, even now, just use one band. They are 2.4 gigahertz band. This does help things out a little bit because even though it's just N, it is dual band. It is 2.4 and 5 gigahertz. So it doesn't use AC, but it does use dual band N. And like I say, it does have a 1 gigabyte Ethernet port. It uses a relatively new and up-to-date Bluetooth as well. It is Bluetooth 4.0. So yeah, you can get a little bit newer, like 4.1 now, but 4.0 or higher, I'm perfectly good with. It also has a SPDIF optical out port. Now, basically, in case you don't know what SPDIF is, let's just call it optical. It is what a lot of sound systems use, like sound bars or other audio kind of speakers and equipment. You use what is called optical, and that goes sometimes from your TV to your sound bar or speakers or whatever. Or in this case, you can plug it from this product, from the Play 2, directly into whatever it is, like the soundbar, which is really good because the old Apple TV version 3, the 3rd gen, had that, and I think that is great for people with things like soundbars. I really thought it was good it had that. But then the latest one, for some reason, they have actually done away with that. They've taken that port out, and that is not great, which isn't great. And the reason I'll just go into this, because it's relevant for this product, is because, yes, you could have surround sound go via your HDMI to your TV, to your speaker system, like your surround sound speaker system, whatever it is you've got. But there is a trouble in some cases. Some TV manufacturers have blocked, for whatever stupid reason, they have blocked surround sound being passed through via HDMI. So yeah, your audio would go from your product, like your DVD player or whatever, your Blu-ray player, to your TV and will come out as stereo. So you do get audio, but you won't have full, proper surround sound being passed through to your fancy 7.1, 5.1, whatever speaker setup. And I've got a Samsung TV that is like that. I have tried to get it to go from a box to the TV to the sound system, and it won't allow it through HDMI. So the way around that would be to have it from the WePlay directly into your sound system. And with WePlay 2, you can do that because you have an optical out port, which means you can plug this directly into something, some sort of speaker setup or soundbar setup that has an optical audio in port. So that is really, really great, especially for people like me in that kind of scenario where they can't actually get surround sound to be passed through via HDMI with their TV correctly if you have one of those type of TVs. So I think that is really, really good. Now another good thing they've done here is it has, of course, a HDMI port, which is pretty obvious it's going to, but a nice little extra here. Well, if you want to call it an extra, whatever it is, it is HDMI version 2.0, and that is really, really good because some products come out still that brag about 4K, yet they are version 1.4 or 1.4b or whatever of HDMI. Now, HDMI 1.4b and that can actually do 4K, don't get me wrong. But ideally, to get the best out of 4K and the best hertz, etc., you want something which has a HDMI 2.0 port on it, with a monitor or TV that is 4K with a HDMI 2.0 port on it, and use a HDMI 2.0 cable. And you'll get the best possible out of your system, out of your monitor, out of your device, etc., etc., etc. And sometimes you even get expensive products like the Mac Pro, not the MacBook Pro, I'm talking about the cylindery black tower. The Mac Pro costs a lot of money, brags about all its 4K abilities, yet it isn't using 2.0 HDMI. So it's really, really nice to see that this uses not the 1.4 or 1.4b or whatever. It uses the good proper 2.0, which is what you want to see, preferably anyway, on a 4K setup. It does, as I've previously mentioned, have a micro SD slot plus 3, not 1 or 2, but 3, which is good, USB 2.0s. Now, unfortunately, no, it's not USB 3. Ideally, it would be 3 or 3.1. It is the old slower 2. It's a pity, but still, there are 3 of them, which is mainly good for connecting peripherals. So, for example, you could plug in a wired mouse and a wired keyboard, or a wireless mouse and keyboard that use their own dongles, USB dongles. So there is that ability, which is really, really good. So for example, I've used a game controller, a cheap wireless game controller. It's basically kind of like designed like a 360 controller, but it doesn't use Bluetooth. It uses regular wireless, RF wireless, and it has to have a dongle where you can plug it into this and it works absolutely fine. That being said, the good thing is if you do have a Bluetooth device, so you want to use a keyboard, a Bluetooth keyboard, you want to use a Bluetooth mouse, or you want to use a Bluetooth game controller or something with this does have Bluetooth 4.0, so you can just connect it directly. That being said, I have tried a Apple Siri remote and I couldn't get it to pair, but that's because it's a special thing for a different device, but I gave it a shot. Anyway, I'm not going to go into this, but in case you do know about this and want to know, it does support external serial debug. For software, its website says it uses Android Lollipop 5.1.1, but that is actually out of date. It does actually now use Android 6.1, which is really good. Really nice to see that they have updated to a major new release, because sometimes you might get a smartphone that's Android 5.1, and that'll be it. They'll update it, but they won't update to the next major release like 6.0 or 6.1. So it's really, really good to see that they have updated to a major new release from 5.1 to 6.1. For streaming support, it supports all sorts like RTSP, RTP, HTTP, UDP, IGMP, and more. For DRM, which is for rights management, so when content has digital rights management, which basically is a way of stopping people from copying it and doing things illegally. It does support Google Widevine and Microsoft Play Ready and the typical HDMI HD CP 2.2. So if you need to, like, I don't know, so for example, I'm trying to think of an example, but maybe like rent a show on Google Play Store or whatever, sometimes these things will have to have a TV and device that supports things like HDCP for copy protection to make sure you're not going to copy it and upload it to the internet, things like that. So this does support that, so that's okay. And for video processing, it does support your older codec H.264, which a lot of stuff is encoded in. But it also supports, which is good, H.265, its new big brother, its new successor, up to 4K at 60 Hz. Now, if you get a lesser box or a cheaper box or whatever, there's a chance that even if it says it supports 4K, there's a chance it's not going to support 60 Hz. It might only support a refresh rate of 30 Hz. And 2, it may not support videos encoded into H.265. And the way around that would be if you had a video into H.265, you could always convert it to a different format. But that takes time and you don't really want to be bothered with that. So you can play it directly on this without converting it, which is really, really, really handy. H.265 can take quite a long time to convert if it's a long, good quality video file. Its video codecs are, as I've mentioned, H.265, 10-bit, it has 10-bit support. H.264 AVC or MVC, it supports the MPEG-4, which is what DVDs used. It also supports VC1, AVS, and MPEG-2 and MPEG-1. For audio codecs, it supports your traditional MP3 that everybody would still want. Plus, it has a lot of extras because it also supports AAC, which is kind of partly a given because a lot of video files do use that now. They use things like H.264 with AAC audio. So I'd halfway expect that to be supported, but it has a few extras that they didn't have to support. It doesn't need to be supported, but it's nice to have them in case you have files encoded in it. It supports the Windows WMA, which isn't hugely used anymore, but it's nice to have the support. Also, Real Media RM and FLAC FLAC and OGG OGG. So that is really nice. They've included some of those other sort of at least semi-popular formats that you might come across. It also, as I have mentioned at other points in this video, does support Dolby Digital, DTS, and Dolby Digital Plus, which is really, really good. You're not going to get that support on every box you buy. It also does support subtitles if you need them. It supports DVB, SRT, and sub, the main 3 subtitle formats. It's EPG, or you might also know it as a TV guide or TV program guide. That is XML TV. Now, I've told you I was going to tell you what was included in the box, and I haven't so far, so let's go back to that a minute. It has the remote control that you can see there. I'll show you it closer up. This is the only flaw I find with this box. I love the box. I hate the remote. I'll go into that later. And that is powered by 2 AAA batteries, not included. It's not rechargeable, but those type of remotes often aren't. But just in case you're wondering, it's not rechargeable. It does use 2 AAA batteries. You get the unit itself, the Play 2. You get an update now, which is to manually update it if you need to. I haven't really needed to use that. You do get included in the box a HDMI to HDMI cable, which is really nice that they include that. Also an RS232 cable, which is one that you probably won't need to use. It's for the serial debugging. It's got one of those old kind of, it's hard to describe ends, but anyway, I'm not going to go into that because it's not really necessary for this review. Just know that if that is an area you'd be interested in, serial debugging, and you think you might need that, it does include a cable. Also, it includes a power cable with several different ends. So you have like a UK 3-prong end and a European style 2-prong end. That may vary for your country, although you probably will get a selection of ends, but at least here in the UK you get the 2-prong European style and a 3-prong, and I'm sure in the US you get the US 2-prong. If they're not exactly the same, I can't remember, I'm not sure off the top of my head if they are. Okay, now bear with me a minute while I show you the different sides of it. I need to get in position here and I'll need to focus, so bear with me if at any point the focus goes, it's because I'm manually focusing. Let's try to bear with me here a minute. Okay, now here, this is the controller. I'll show you that closer up in a minute. On the top it's plain black, except there is an indent of the WeTek name and logo. I'm not sure how well this picks up on camera, but there is air vents to stop it from overheating on the right side. Then there is a micro SD card slot, and I have one inserted. Then there is a USB, which is good because 2 is on the back, so you don't want them all on the back necessarily, because it's handy to have one close to the front, so that if you want to plug in something like a wired mouse and you want a bit more reach on the cable, it's nice to have a USB port closer to the front. On the right side, the left side, there is just a lot of air vents for breathing, and a bit of the light, the front light wraps around there. Here is the back. You have a power plug. This is where you plug the power into. There is the little port for serial debugging. Here is this little door here. You insert that in the door, it goes inwards. That is for the optical audio for your sound system, soundbar, or whatever. Here's the HDMI 2.0. Here is the Ethernet port if you're not using Wi-Fi. Here is a TRRS port, which is for AV output, audio video output. And here is the final 2 USB 2.0s. So you've got 2 on top of each other at the back and 1 on the right side near the front. Like I say, I think that's a good layout. Here is your tuner. As you can see from the kind of design, that does slot out, which I'll show you in just a second. That, in this case, is the terrestrial and cable TV tuner. So you have a RF in and RF out, and this would be slightly different ends if you had the satellite model. And if you have the cheaper model for about €99, I can't remember how much it is in pounds, so I was just on their official website and they do in euros. I'll put that on the screen though. If you don't have one, there'll be nothing here, just basically blank, and you'll be able to take the piece out and blank piece out and put one in if you buy one, which I think is a really good feature. Here is the back, okay? The back has basically got little rubber feet on each of the corners, lots of air holes, and here is a little indent. You push that indent in, and then you can slide this out. I'm hoping you can see that okay. That is it. See, there's the back. That is what was in the back of the machine. I poked the thing out and poked the bit in the bottom and slid this out. And there it is. There is your terrestrial TV tuner. And that just simply slides in the back, or if you've ordered one with the end that you want to use, it will already be in it. So don't worry about that. It will already be in it. And there it's the back without the piece in. So then all you'd need to do okay, so there we are. That's it with it slid back in. There's the HDMI and all the other ports there as well. So the only other ports on this besides those at the back are the micro SD and the third USB on the side. And that's it. So there is a lot of features here and functionalities. You have plenty of USB ports, you have a micro port, you have Ethernet as well as Wi-Fi, dual band Wi-Fi. You've got your various audio ports, you've got a thing for the serial debugging, you've got HDMI 2.0, and then you just got so much functionality here, including this, which I think is such a cool feature, a modular tuner. That is a really awesome, that's a big selling point for this. Okay, lastly we have the front. It's pretty much plain black, but here we have the power light that also turns red if it's off, blue if it's on. That's wrapped around the side here, which looks very stylish. We then have 2 power lights, two status lights. One is for Ethernet, one is for Wi-Fi. If you're not using Ethernet, of course that won't be being used. Now, if you're using Wi-Fi, that won't be used. Okay, so it depends upon what you're using, what lights up there. So for me, I don't have Ethernet plugged into it. So I have the power light will be blue when I'm using it, and then a blue Wi-Fi light. So that's a Wi-Fi status light and an Ethernet status light. And this isn't going to be a tutorial for the whole controller. I just want to point out some things and show it to you. This is the power button to turn on, and that actually will flash. When you press other buttons on here, it will flash red, which is a nice touch, I think, so I thought it was worth mentioning. And then you have your standard sort of play, pause, record button for recording live TV down here, volume, and channel things, coloured buttons, etc. I just want to point out some main things here. Here's your keypad, enter, up, left, right. Then you have the home button here to get back, and this is obviously the back button, and this is to show recent apps open. So basically, your control panel thing, you know, if your apps open, if you have several apps open, you know, in the background, you can close them and switch to them from there. Now, some programs don't work well with a controller, especially if they're made for a tablet or a smartphone, or some just won't work without clicking with a mouse. So you press this to get a mouse up on the screen, then use arrow keys, which can actually be very, very awkward and time consuming, but bear in mind you can use a Bluetooth or wired mouse or keyboard or both with this. You don't have to use this. You can use a Bluetooth peripheral such as a keyboard and mouse, and I think you're going to find you might want to. So is there any major pluses and cons here before I tell you the pricing if I recommend it or not? The major plus to this, I would have to say, is the modular TV tuner. Very few have a TV tuner, yet this one, not only can you plug a TV antenna into it, you also have that choice of no tuner, TV tuner, or satellite tuner. And if you don't want to pay the extra money, you can save a little bit of money by getting one without a tuner. But then what's good is you might pay, say £100 for this, then find don't get a tuner, think you never need it, then a couple months your status, your situation could change, and you might really want a satellite tuner or a TV tuner built into it for the free view or recording TV shows, things like that, and you might be like, oh, I've spent all this money, now I'm stuck without a TV tuner and I really could use it now. Well, the good thing about that is you're not stuck with this. You just have to pay an extra £30 and you can get the TV tuner or the satellite tuner. I think it's so great. Plus it does have up to 60Hz 4K, Dolby Digital and DTS surround sound encoding. It has dual band Wi-Fi, although the knock against that is it's not AC. Ideally, I would have liked AC. It has 3 USB ports. It has an SD card slot for recording and pausing shows. It even includes serial debugging port with a cable included. It uses HDMI 2.0, which I think is really good if you have a 4K TV. It has a lot of pluses, but it does have one negative, and that is the controller. I have been so frustrated with this controller. I find it is a nightmare to use. Now, the good thing about this is it's such a flexible device, you're not stuck to using it. If you can't use this controller or are frustrated by it, you aren't permanently stuck. There are ways around it. You can use a keyboard and mouse. That works the best, although I will say this is for your TV. People don't expect to be having a cumbersome mouse and keyboard on their lap or whatever when they're trying to sit and enjoy TV. So that is a bit of a negative for me, but you can try using other things. Experiment if you really get stuck with this controller, because it's a shame to knock the device for the controller, because the device itself is absolutely brilliant. So I would suggest, a Bluetooth wired keyboard and mouse will work in a pinch, but I would recommend you try, if you don't get along with the controller, you try a game controller, a wireless game controller. Maybe I have used an Easy SMX game controller that does partly work. It's not ideal in areas you need to click with a mouse, or at least I haven't worked it out how to do that with that controller yet, but it does work and is slightly better than using this controller, I find. And of course, it doesn't. You don't have all the buttons then, like record button and things like that. But for general navigation, so you could always use a game controller for general use, and occasionally pick this one back up to record or do some more advanced things. So there are ways around it. There are other keyboard, mice, game controllers, various things you can use, either wired or RF. If it has a little USB you can plug into it, I find that works fine, at least with the one I got. So don't let the controller necessarily stop you from getting this, because I like it. I think it's great how it's got HDMI 2.0, modular tuner, 4K at 60 Hz, Dolby Digital Plus, DTS, optical audio port, lots of cables included in the box. I just think the box itself and the accessories, apart from the controller, are all really high standard. And the device itself is just really, really an awesome box. It's very capable, very flexible, very modular. I just think the box is awesome. And I can't believe they've kind of included a controller like this with such a high standard box, or such a quality Android TV box. It is such a shame. I thought maybe it was just me. Maybe I just want getting along with the controller. But then I have actually been online and seen what some other people are saying in things like forums or reviews and things, and I am far from being the only one to struggle with this controller. It is a known thing. People don't like this controller. What about the price? Well, I'll put the US dollar price as a text overlay on the screen, but in the UK, if you know for sure, or well, you don't have to know for sure, you can always get it extra later on, but preferably you want to get the right one to begin with. If you are pretty sure you're never going to want a TV tuner or a satellite tuner, then you can pay £98. If you want a satellite tuner, it's £108. So it's not a huge amount more. If you think you're going to want a satellite tuner at some point, it might be worth paying that little bit extra to get that one. The DVB-C/T/T2, which is for terrestrial TV, and in some cases, depending upon your provider, possibly cable, that is a little more at 115 for some reason. Bear in mind that if you think you're going to want the satellite one or the TV one at a later point, it might be worth investing now, because otherwise it's going to cost you more by getting the £30 tuner separate. So just think about that quite long and hard. I think it is an awesome Android TV box. One of the best I've seen, at least in that kind of price range. So certainly from one that isn't one of the main brands like Apple or whatever. It is for an Android box, and this is coming from someone who isn't normally a big fan of Android. I think it's awesome. I'm not normally keen on Android or Android boxes, personally, but I think it's actually a really well thought out box. You've got the awesome design of the light that curves around the edge, with the indicator lights on the front that wasn't 100% necessary, but they've included it. They've got a tuner that can be replaced and swapped depending upon what your needs are, or if your needs change. You're not stuck with either none or stuck with a certain type, which would mean you'd have to get a whole new box, like a lot of products. It's modular. It's got HDMI 2, which it didn't need to. A lot don't include that because HDMI 1.4b, etc., is compatible with 4K. So it's nice. I really like to see HDMI 2.0 on 4K products, and it's got plenty of USB ports. It's got a micro SD card slot for recording. It's well thought out. What changes would I make? I think I've made it obvious. I would completely change the remote. I don't like the remote. The other changes I would make would be that is pretty much it. I would just really have 802.11 AC, the newer type of Wi-Fi included, and what I might like to see is the USBs change to USB 3.0 to make them faster, and support for external hard drives. So you can plug in an external hard drive, 3.0, USB 3.0 hard drive for your recording and files, playback, things like that. But overall, apart from the remote, I I think it's a great box. Love it, well thought out, lots of features and compatibility. Love it. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment and subscribe to my YouTube channel, and a link to this product on Amazon will be included in the description along with this video on YouTube. So thanks for watching.